What's going on, Miners fans? Welcome back to Coral Seymour Memorial Ballpark. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows joining you here this evening, and we've got round two here in Kenai between your Mat-Su Miners and the Peninsula Oilers. And Charlie, it was a whale of a game, we'll say, last night.
Mat-Su has lost games before this season. They have not lost a game this season in which they scored as many runs as their opponent did, which happened last night. And by that same token, Dylan, I think they have never needed a win more badly than today.
Yeah, it's going to be a hugely motivational game for Mat-Su from that perspective. And folks, to really get a full grasp on what happened last night, I think the best thing we can do is just show you the highlights. Take a look. Welcome back to the land of salmon and sea, Kenai, Alaska. We are just about set to get things rolling in the Alaska Baseball League once again as the Peninsula Oilers play host to your Mat-Su Miners. What's going on, everyone? Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows joining you live from Coral Seymour Memorial Ballpark as it's time to see if the Miners can reel in what has made their way out here. This is a high fly ball deep to right field, and it's going to land at the base of the wall. Coming around is Robson to home plate, and he is going to not be able to make it in time. What a throw from right field by Kellen Strohmeyer. The relay works to perfection, and we are still scoreless. Hitter Drake Kerr playing his usual spot of center field in this game. Takes a pitch from Leon and lays down a bunt. Leon will try to throw to first in time. It is not going to be able to make it. And all the way on to third now with Strohmeyer on the missed throw. It was mishandled by the first baseman Ferris. And Mat-Su has runners in the corners. Yeah, it requires perfect execution to get it down correctly. The 1-2, this time he swings at it. And it's going to be foul to actually throw to second base. Now they're going to go back to home plate. The ball bounces away and a run scores for Mat-Su. Now going on to third for the Miners is going to be Check-It Kerr.
Would like a mulligan for how his experience went in the first inning. He walked, made it all the way around to third on a Vogelsong Lewis single, and then decided he would try to go for home. He hits that out into right field, going back, and that's over the fence. That's a home run. Colin Robson has done it again. He now has half of the total home runs in the Alaska Baseball League, and both of them at the expense of Mat-Su. The Peninsula Oilers have tied this game. They have silenced the best offense in the league.
1-2 count. Here we go. Strohmeyer has this one bounce off of the plate. He's going on to first. The throw is going to be off the bag. It gets away, and Strohmeyer is safe at first base. 2 count. Now the Oilers looking to strike it rich and win this game. Mat-Su trying to keep it alive. This ball flown out into shallow right field, and the catch is made by the second baseman Patrizzi, and we are going to extra innings. Miners versus Oilers has been a thriller here in Kenai, and we are not done yet, folks.
Mose Hayes yet again.
A count of 2-2 for the man from UCLA, Blake Bouts. Curveball, he got the strikeout. Mose Hayes delivers in a bases-loaded situation with one of the biggest strikeouts in his 4-year Alaska Baseball League career. And we are on to the bottom half of the 10th with the score still tied at 1 apiece.
Center field to end that inning.
This is going to be a line right to the second baseman. Off the ground, throw to first is in time. And we are headed to sudden death in Kenai between the Mat-Su Miners and the Peninsula Oilers. This game just continues to astound and amaze.
Showing bunt, and that gets through, so the ghost runner is going to get to second. The first wild pitch of the game thrown by Mose Hayes, and Worthgen couldn't corral it, so now we're playing Major League Baseball. Second base is Blake Bouts.
Pinch runner.
And they're going to pinch run. Yeah, this is Riker Scow coming on. He leads the ABL with 5 steals on the season, so that is a very good call for head coach Tyler Brunn. There is activity up in the pen. That's hit well out to right center field, moving on Sullivan, and the center fielder's got it. Tagging and advancing to third is Riker Scow. The throw comes into third, and that gets away. Riker Scow thought about trying to score, but instead rightly retreats back to third, and my heart stopped for a second as that throw got through Ty Thomas at third, nearly gifted the Miners a win on a comedy of errors, and now thinking better of it.
And wait a second, I think they're going to say that somebody left base early. Is that the call?
What does that even mean? Who left base early?
And there he goes.
He goes. He's out.
Oh, my goodness.
That's unbelievable.
I have never seen anything like that.
With no instant replay available, the umpires just conferred and decided amongst themselves that, yes, indeed, Scow tagged and advanced before Colin Robson had the ball in his glove. So a pickoff, I guess, is what you would score that as. And grab a much-earned win. Here's the 1-2. Swing and a miss. He got him. And that ends the game. Kellen Strohmeyer slams his bat into the dirt. And I don't think the following words have ever been uttered in the history of baseball play-by-play. The Peninsula Oilers have won a game 1-1 in their home opener after a ghost runner that was originally on first base was called out after he tagged from second and advanced to third on a pickoff from the center fielder to the catcher to the pitcher back to the second baseman, ending on a strikeout by a reliever who threw 6 innings out of the pen after the starter threw 5. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Alaska Baseball League, and that is the first road loss for the ABL, for the Mat-Su Miners, the first home win for the Peninsula Oilers.
So you saw the chaos and the calamity from last night towards the end, a very dramatic ending, but we're back here for Game 2 today, and Mat-Su is motivated to go out there and get a victory, Charlie.
Yeah, after the game like that, all you can really say is some of that stuff was in our control, of course, going, 1 for 10, 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position, not sustainable to getting a win, especially for an offense that has scored as much as Mat-Su has. Some of that stuff was outside of our control. There were some officiating decisions and, just general chaos, as you said. You just got to get back up and go again.
Hey, it's baseball. Things like that can and will happen. It's like Murphy's Law. You never know when things will go wrong. But Mat-Su is ready to get after it today, and one guy who was a part of that finish last night, Riker Scow, was in the lineup for Mat-Su today. Let's hear from him now. What's going on, Mat-Su Miners fans? Dylan Simmons here, and I am here with Mr. Riker Scow, who's about to partake in a big baseball game against the Peninsula Oilers tonight here at 6 o'clock. Now, Riker, obviously last night's game was very dramatic. What did you guys take away, and what are you going to use going into today's game?
Yesterday was a long day. We traveled from Palmer, so it was a long day. It was a cold game, super windy. We knew it was going to be a dogfight. It's kind of cold, so we knew it was going to be a fight. We played a long game. Pitchers threw really well. Today, I think just the bats need to step up for today.
All right, now obviously the pitching last night and the defense on both sides was incredible. What do you think it's going to take from the offenses to really get things going and get some runs on the board in this one in a more productive manner?
I think just sticking to our approach. We've seen the guy that we're going to see today. We've seen him before. I think we have a really good approach against him. So if we just stick to that plan, I think we'll do really well.
All right, and last question for you. What's the motivation coming into this game after that loss last night? How motivated are the guys to get after it today?
Really excited. It was a tough loss and interesting way to lose a ball game, so I think we're really fired up and excited to play today.
All right, looking forward to it, Riker. Congratulations.
Right.
We'll see you later tonight. Back to you. All right, let's take a look at the lineups tonight for the Miners and the Oilers.
Starting with the visiting Miners, Ryan Richard leads off with Don Patrizzi getting his first off day of the season. Richard starts at short. Blake Bouts making his first start of the season behind the dish. Christian Perez at third. Kyle McCausland out in right. Nick Ferry, the starting first baseman, as per usual. Brandon Durand, who got the day off yesterday, as the DH. Nick Bisacci at second. Riker Scow out in left. Drake Kerr at center field. And Ben DeTay making a start against the Oilers for the first time.
Good to see DeTay back on the mound. Meanwhile, for Peninsula, Cole Dawson leads off the shortstop tonight. Kyle McDaniel back at third base. Colin Robson in center field, the home run king here in the ABL. Ty Thomas at first base. Cole Wilson in right field. Max Rothward back at second base. Brock Worthington, the DH tonight. Andres Mitat, the catcher. Bryce Berkey, the left fielder. And Max Sasaki back on the mound for Peninsula tonight. All right, you've heard the lineups. It's going to be a dramatic one potentially again between the Miners and the Oilers. Stay tuned right here on the Mat-Su Miners YouTube channel. We'll have live game action coming your way next.
Hello, Miners fans, and welcome inside Coral Seymour Memorial Ballpark once again for the second of 5 straight games between the Mat-Su Miners and the Peninsula Oilers. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons, as always, the voices of the Mat-Su Miners, ready to bring you this action. But I think no matter how exciting this game gets, chances are, Dylan, it won't even come close to the sheer madness that took place on this field last night.
Yeah, the drama last night is going to be hard to match in this entire series, but what I will say is I'm very excited to see what the potential response will be from both sides after that dramatic finish. Where do you go from there? Where do you pick up for Mat-Su and for Peninsula, especially for the Miners after that kind of disappointing loss? How will they approach today's game, and what will they use to motivate them to try to get a win here in today's matchup? It's going to be a good one.
Just in case anyone needs a refresher, wasn't here for the pregame show, wasn't here last night. The game ended with a score of 1-1. The Peninsula Oilers were awarded the win because of the ABL's overtime, or I should say extra innings rules. After the end of the 10th inning, there's a sudden death frame where the home team gets to choose whether to pitch or hit. The Oilers chose to pitch, which meant all they needed was 3 outs, and they would win the game, which is eventually what happened, but not before a controversial call was made in favor of the Oilers. Riker Skow is at second base as a ghost runner. He was ruled to have left second base after tagged second base before the ball was caught by an outfielder on a sacrifice fly, which rendered him out. Subsequently, looking at the broadcast footage we got was inconclusive at best, but in any event, that was the end of it. And tonight, you know, there's a lot of things that went wrong in that game. Some of them were the Miners' fault. Some of them weren't. Just got to look behind you and move forward.
Exactly. Big chance to respond. This is going to be a good one, Charlie.
And Max Sasaki, who the Miners are familiar with, deals a first pitch ball to Brian Richard, the leadoff man. Last time these two teams faced off, the Miners lit up Sasaki for 6 runs in the first inning and chased him from the game. Chopped foul there. That was en route to a 10-1 win back at Herman Brothers Field, the last home game the Miners played.
Some changes in the defensive lineup as well for Peninsula tonight. You've got Kyle McDaniel back at third base. Ty Thomas going to be taking over at first. A lot different than what we saw last night. And no Petey Soto in the lineup for the Oilers at the moment either. So I'm curious to see how all that will come together and how that affects the defensive performance for Peninsula.
1-2 coming to Richard. Leading off for the first time this season, Don Patrizzi, the normal leadoff man, has the day off. And that just misses low. Those who looked at the box score for last night's game might have seen a different story than the one we just told, one where Petey Soto hit a walk-off home run. As this pitch is hit out into left field by Richard, Berkey goes back in left and makes the catch for out number 1. That is an unfortunate reality of the, shall we say, unique set of extra inning rules that the ABL uses, is that any baseball scoring software such as Presto Sports that the ABL uses is not going to be able to have a game end in a 1-1 score but have one team win. So there had to be a solution in the short term, and hopefully that'll get resolved sooner rather than later. In the meantime, though, the win is the win for the Oilers. They're first against the Miners. That's hit in the opposite field. Shortstop fields it and throws on to first. Dawson to Thomas. Retires Blake Boutz 2-away.
Yeah, Blake Bowles making his first start for the Miners tonight. Came in last night as a pinch hitter for Mat-Su late in that game and had a pretty productive outing, was able to get on base. And now he's getting the start tonight for Mat-Su as the catcher.
He was the ghost runner to start that 11th inning. He actually struck out with multiple men on in the top of the 10th, I should say. One of many, many chances the Miners had with runners in scoring position, 10 of them to be exact, and they went 1 for 10 in those opportunities. Christian Perez fouls one back. He did not have a great game for himself. He had 3 strikeouts and was 1 for 5 overall against the Oilers last night.
Yeah, it's his first real off game this entire season, which just shows how consistent he's been. I'm sure he's going to be looking to get after it once again tonight.
Coming off Player of the Week honors so far this season, he's hitting .294, has driven in 2 runs, has struck out 5 times, 3 of them last night. That just misses outside. We're having some issues with the scoreboard right now, but I believe it is a 2-1 count. Sasaki with 2 down in the top of the first. And that's a swing and a miss And it did not in the plate appearance, so I believe I was correct. 2-2 the count on the man from Grand Canyon University, although he just announced a couple days ago he'll be heading to the Sacramento State Hornets in the spring. 2-2. Just got a piece of it. The lineup for the Miners, beyond the three that we've seen already, is Kyle McCausland, Nick Ferry, Brandon Duran, Nick Bisaccia, Riker Scow, and Drake Kerr. Don Patrizzi, as I mentioned, getting his first off day, which means Ryan Richard and Drake Kerr, batters 1 and 9 in this order, the only ones that have played in every game. That's a little bloop into left field and a diving attempt and a diving catch by Bryce Berkey out in left field. He's responsible for 2 of the outs in the top of the first, and that one much more difficult than the one he made to start the game. 1-2-3 go the Miners. You're watching Mat-Su Miners baseball here on YouTube. Heading to the bottom of the first now in Kenai, Alaska. Mat-Su Miners, Peninsula Oilers tied up, as they so often have been during this road trip for Mat-Su. Of course, it's still a 0-0 game in the early goings here. It'll be Ben DeTay on the mound for the Miners, with the defense around him of Blake Bouts doing the catching, Nick Ferry at first, Nick Bisaccia at second, Ryan Richard at short, Christian Perez at third, and the outfield from left to right, Riker Scow, Drake Kerr, and Kyle McCausland. Ben DeTay will be facing off against a lineup of Cole Dawson, Kyle McDaniel, Colin Robson, Ty Thomas, Cole Wilson, Max Rothwarg, Brock Worthgen, Andres Matat, and Bryce Berkey. Some familiar names from last night mixed in with a few new ones. I believe this is the first time we've seen Cole Wilson bat against the Miners. Max Rothwarg had an off day last night as well, but some very recognizable and terrifying names in that order as well.
Very terrifying, some of those guys, especially Colin Robson, who already has 2 home runs against Mat-Su this year. That's something that Ben DeTay is going to have to look out for, and let's talk a little bit about that. He's a guy who usually comes in as a reliever for both the Miners and the Iowa Hawkeyes, but getting his first start of the year for Mat-Su, didn't start at all for Iowa this past season, so it's going to be interesting to see what he can do in this situation against this Oilers lineup.
Cole Dawson to lead off, the shortstop today, out of Arkansas Tech, Russellville, Arkansas, at .250, 2 home runs, 28 runs batted in. Also played ball for Montana State Billings, which is in the Montana State system, a school very near and dear to me. A lot of family out in Bozeman. 0-1 from DeTay. Skips in the dirt, fielded by Bouts, who, as we've mentioned a few times, starting at catcher for the first time is for the Miners. He and Hayden Hattenbach, who we will most likely see at some point during this road trip, joined the team just yesterday, met everybody for the first time, and immediately got into a van and drove down from Palmer to Kenai. Bouts appeared as a pinch hitter last night, as we mentioned how that went. Also was a ghost runner. Fouled back, 1-2.
You see the fastball from Ben DeTay so far, and I want you guys to take a look at his body if you can. He puts so much into that pitch, and you can tell by the motion that he's putting all that he's got into it, making it really zip.
Left that one high, 2-2. The story of the game last night, the crazy 11th inning notwithstanding, I've alluded to it a few times, the Mat-Su Miners did not come to play on offense. They scored 1 unearned run, as that's a cut and a miss for strike 3, but as I was going to say, the pitchers on both sides, the perfect segue, were great. The Oilers more so. They combined for 10 strikeouts between Eddie Leon and Mose Hayes, their long reliever that ended up closing out the game, but the trio of pitchers for the Miners weren't bad either. Ryan Peterson, Drew Keenan, and Luke Smith, not in that order. It was just the offenses that struggled. Kyle McDaniel takes a first pitch strike, and that's one of the interesting things about this Miners team. They've scored 46 runs this season, which is far and away the most in the ABL, but as a team, they're only batting 195. That's a comebacker to short. Richard throwing on. Has to make a scoop there at first, does Ferry, but he's a good enough of a defender to make it work 2-away.
Yeah, good work by Nick Ferry. We've seen him do this all year. Scoop up low passes to first base, able to get that one very cleanly. Nice execution. That's a big 6-3 put out, and he makes a very difficult play look easy.
Colin Robson will bat against Tate for the first time. He had a solo home run last night. The only run the Oilers scored, and he hits a fastball. He now accounts for exactly half of the 4 runs that the Oilers have scored across their 3 games against the Miners this season, both of those being solo home runs.
And he's also the home run king in the Alaska Baseball League, and both of those homers have come against the Miners, strangely enough. So for whatever reason, it seems like Colin Robson just knows how to figure things out against Matsu. And it's not like it's the same pitcher either. It's been against 2 different pitchers so far, so he's just very effective when it comes to that power bat against these Matsu Miners.
Overall, there have been 4 home runs hit in ABL play this year, and the Miners have allowed 3 of them. Here's a 2-1. Right down the middle.
At some point, I think the unluckiness factor comes in with that, because that's hard to explain other than just being flat out unlucky with some of these hitters.
Popped him up. Richard into shallow left. And he's got it. Out number 3, 1-2-3 go both teams. An uneventful first inning and a 0-0 game at that. We're coming right back with Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Second inning we go. Kyle McCausland, Nick Ferry, Brandon Duran, the 3 due up here in Kenai. Still a 0-0 game. Max Sasaki did much better in the first inning here than he did the last time he faced off against these Miners. 0 runs, much better than his previous best of 6. And Kyle McCausland will dig in against him. He scored the only run last night on a couple errors. Coming around on a single, actually, I believe that was Strohmeyer. Kellen Strohmeyer scored that run, but McCausland did have a couple hits in that game.
Like what we're seeing from Sasaki so far, doing a much better job of finding the strike zone earlier on, and seems to be pitching with a much better abundance of confidence than what he was originally against Matsu, and maybe it's the home environment making him feel a little more comfortable, or maybe he's figured something out about his pitching mechanics here in the later part of the season, but he looks better tonight.
He was solid in the only other start he had prior to that Miners game. It seems like that could potentially have just been a blip in what is otherwise a pretty solid season.
Yeah, could have just been an aberration.
Here's a 1-2. On the ground to second base, fielded by Rolf Warg, and he's got it for an easy put out. 1 away.
He did a great job at second base against the Miners originally, had a lot of putouts against this Miners offense, and pretty routine shopper that time, did a good job to handle it. Easy out.
Nick Ferry now, the starting first baseman, always dependable with his glove and with his bat. And he spoils that pitch foul down the left field line. Ferry this season hitting 188, has walked 5 times, which is 1 shy of the club lead. One and one.
Yeah, he's done a good job so far this season in his appearances, at especially getting on base and generating runs for Matsu, which he's done time and time again. 5 runs already scored this year, and he's looking for more tonight.
Swing and a miss on a sweeper. 1 and 2.
Curious to see how he handles Sasaki's curveball. We've seen a lot of it early on, and he's been pretty consistent with it.
No base runners yet in this one. It's been a pitcher's duel throughout this entire series. Here's a 2-2. Comebacker, Sasaki's got it himself. Nifty little play with his glove. And he throws on for yet another ground out.
Interesting that time he decided to go with the overhand toss to first base. A lot of times you'll see pitchers run up and use the underhand toss, but pretty confident in his throw, and I don't doubt him for that. Able to get it to first with no problem, and another easy ground out.
Brandon Durand hitting 154 is 2 for 13. However, both of those hits were doubles, and they both came in the same game. So the ultra-rare slugging percentage that is exactly double your average, which means all your hits were doubles. 1-0. Into the zone, 1-1.
There's that curveball again from Sasaki, and that was a perfectly placed curveball. It's been very hard for Matsu to have any contact against that so far that has any meaningful impact. He's really going back to that, so that's something that Matsu, especially the second time around in the order, is going to have to try to use to their advantage.
This bullpen for this Oilers squad has not been good. Mose Hayes was an extremely valuable weapon that they used to get a big win, as that's grounded weakly to short, throwing on a wicked throw, and he makes it to the glove before Durand reaches first. So another 1-2-3 through an inning and a half, 0-0 the score. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Bottom 2 here in Kenai. No pitcher has allowed a base runner yet. And Ben Dete does not want to be the first. He's got 4, 5, 6, Ty Thomas, Cole Wilson, Max Rothwark due up in the bottom of the second. And what is quickly establishing itself to be a very similar game, at least in the early goings, to last night, where runs and action of any kind will be at a premium.
Yeah, and he's got a great opportunity early on against Ty Thomas, a guy who in his 14 at-bats on the year struck out 5 times, so he's very aggressive at the plate. That is something that Dete feasts on more often than not. A great opportunity for the Hawkeye.
That's left low, 1-0. The Miners had no shortage of opportunities last night, but just weren't able to convert them. The Oilers, as they do, struggled a little bit more with getting men on base, but they scored their run the easiest way you can by hitting it over the fence. 1-1. In the zone on Thomas.
And I was curious to see how the Miners were going to play this play this game early on, and so far they've shown a lot of confidence in their abilities, and they're not getting overly emotional, not thinking too much about what happened last night. That's the kind of mindset that you need to have in this game. Even though last night happened, you've got to put that to the side and just play your brand of baseball. That's the way you keep charging ahead and fight for that victory.
Chopper over the head of Dete, fielded on the run by Richard, throwing on to Ferry, and a nifty little play for out number 1.
Oh my gracious, what a throw by Richard that time. Another example of a shortstop making a play that seems incomprehensible in the moment, just the ability to zip it across that fast. It looks pretty routine, but that is such a hard play to make, especially when you have to be that good of a split-second thrower, and he was able to get it on the dime accurately to Nick Ferry. Tell you what, Ryan Richard, the man out of Baton Rouge Community College, is making a name for himself over at the shortstop spot.
Got jammed there, right to the second baseman, Bisaccia to Ferry, one Seton Hall Pirate to another, and that's a 1-pitch, 1-out. Cole Wilson, nice to meet you. Heading back to the dugout.
Yeah, it wasn't there for a long time, just got into the batter's box and immediately grounded out to a 4-3 putout. But, like you mentioned before, the first time we've seen him tonight, and I'd say that he's going to be a pretty big factor for Peninsula in the future. Has great pedigree, but now it's on to Max Rothwarg.
Rothwarg at second today. Did not play in last night's game, but has appeared a lot against the Miners. Out of Swarthmore, .352 hitter with 1 home run in college. And he grounds that to third. This is going to be a tough play for Perez. Throwing across. Gets it to Ferry. Pinpoint accuracy. 3 ground outs in the second. 4 overall on the part of the Miners. And through 2 innings, 0 action from either side. 0-0. The Miners and the Oilers. You're watching Matsu on YouTube. Heading to the third inning in Kenai, Alaska, home of the Peninsula Oilers, and currently a 0-0 game. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons in the booth as always, and batters 7, 8, 9 due up for the Miners as they have not managed a base runner yet against Max Sasaki. Nick Bisaccia ready to dig in now. Cut and a miss. The second baseman today, he assisted on the third of 3 groundouts in the second inning. Sasaki has coaxed 4 of them overall, along with a pair of flyouts. 0-1, grounded up the middle, and that's going to get through. No, it's stopped by the shortstop, throwing on, not in time, though. That was a great diving stop, but unfortunately was not able to make the play, so Bisaccia legs out a hit, the first allowed by either side.
Nice work by Bisaccia that time, right up the middle, and it was a great effort by Cole Dawson on the ground. I thought for a second that he might be able to get the throw off, but he just wasn't able to. Heck of an effort, though. Big hit for Bisaccia, and Matsu's got a runner aboard.
Now here's Riker Scow, who was embroiled at the center of last night's controversial ending. He chops one to Dawson at short, throws on to second for the force out there, and Scow will get to first on a fielder's choice.
Nice execution that time by Cole Dawson, and a smart decision to go to second base and Rothwar. We talked about that a little bit last night. You get the runner ahead who's going closer to home plate, able to get him out, and that's a very smart, high IQ play. Sure, there's still a runner on first, but you take care of the more immediate threat.
We'll talk more about Skow's involvement in that inning in a bit, but here's Drake Kerr, the center fielder that would have gotten to bat had Kellen Strohmeyer not struck out. Part of the controversy is that Strohmeyer should have been awarded first base with 2 outs in that game because Mose Hayes, the pitcher for the Oilers at the time, stepped off the mound twice before throwing a pitch, which by rule is a balk. But the umpires missed it as they were busy conferring. Here goes Skow. He leads the ABL in steals, and that time Andres Matad isn't even going to try. Skow extends his lead, and he's in with a stolen base.
Yeah, Matad kind of just looked at the baseball for a second. I wonder if he felt that the grip wasn't quite good enough on the throw and decided to not even try to make it. Better that than a disastrous play that allows Skow to head on to third base, so I understand the logic behind that. Probably just didn't have a good enough grip on the baseball.
Now, Skow, one of the fastest players in the Alaska Baseball League, so if you botch the throw to second, he's going to third at least. Showing bunt and rolls a beautiful one down the third base line. The third baseman has it, but he can't do anything with it. Reaching first on a textbook bunt is Drake Kerr. Skow advances to third, and now the Miners are in business.
He's the best on this team when it comes to bunts. We've seen him do this time and time again this year, and that one couldn't have been better. Put it right along the third base line, and you talked about it. McDaniel tried to go back to third, but there was really nowhere to go for him that time. So that is exactly how you get your team in position to score with plays like that. Drake Kerr once again showing himself to be a difference maker.
Ryan Richard flied out to left to start the game. Now he's got runners on first and third. So this is the point that the Miners were able to get to time and time again last night, but they just could not convert it. Fouled straight back into the backstop by Richard, 0-1. They had 10 chances with runners in scoring position, and they went a ghastly 1 for 10 in those instances. Yeah, and the one hit they did get did not even drive in a run.
Yeah, it was very uncharacteristic, and it was one of the sticking points after last night's loss was we've got to turn this around because we cannot allow that to happen and expect to win baseball games here in this kind of league. So Matsu, understanding that directly, they know they've got to convert on these opportunities, and a guy like Ryan Richard has certainly shown that time and time again this season.
One runner goes, and Mitat can't handle the ball cleanly, so he's going to let another runner advance into scoring position.
That's the second straight time that Matad has tried to go to second base, and it seems like he just can't get a good handle on the baseball and thought better of throwing it, allows Kerr to go to second base, and now you've got 2 runners in scoring position. An even bigger incentive for Ryan Richard to get one into the outfield and get the Miners a run on the board.
I think he tried to throw it. It just slipped out of his hands. Here's the offering from Sasaki. Now in a jam, and he's going to step off. Sasaki this season with a 10.5 ERA has allowed 8 hits, 7 runs in 6 innings pitched. And swing and a miss for Richard. And that's strike 3. Or is it? No, it's not. The scoreboard is having a bit of a malfunction, and you heard the Pac-Man dying sound effect get cut off there as they realized that that was not, in fact, strike 3. The people running the soundboard did. Not sure if that came over the broadcast, but in any event, here's a 1-2. Stays alive. As I was saying, 7 runs on 6 hits in 6 innings sounds pretty bad, but that is inflated by his 6-run 1-inning outing against the Miners. Other than that, he's allowed a total of just 1 run across the other 5 he's pitched. So pretty solid.
Yeah, very solid pitcher, and you think more and more that game might be an aberration, especially if this goes well for him tonight.
Out to right field, this will score at least 1. Second baseman has it. And it actually will not score anyone. That was just shallow enough. It looked off the bat like it was definitely going to go into the outfield, but Max Rothwark was able to snag it, and Riker Scout, for whatever reason, thought better of tagging, wary of Rothwark's arm, so a critical second out by Sasaki. He can get out of this with no damage if he makes it out on Blake Balls.
Yeah, that reminds me of a very similar situation we saw last night in the 11th inning, although not quite the same. Riker Scow, with an opportunity to go home, decides to stay back at third base. Of course, we know what happened after the fact, but I think this was the right decision in this case because there was a great opportunity to make a throw to home plate. And if you're Riker Scow, I think the right thing to do is to hold back because I think the Oilers would have been able to get there in time, and I trust that Matat would have been able to make that catch.
A high strike comes in to Blake Bouts, who grounded out to short in the first inning. 0-1 on him. 2 on, 2 out. A critical juncture for the Miners, and he looks at another strike.
Boy, this would be huge for the Oilers if they could once again strand 2 runners on base for Matsu, very similar to what we saw last night. It would be a way to tell themselves, hey, this is just like last night's game. Let's keep applying the pressure to the Miners here on the defensive side.
0-2. Weak grounder to short. Fielded and bobbled by the shortstop, Dawson, and everybody is going to be safe. They tried to score 2 runs. Not sure what Drake Kerr was thinking on that one, but the Miners do get on the board. He makes the 3rd out, but Scow comes around to score on the E6. Another unearned run, but a run the same. The Miners jump out to a lead. They lead it 1-0 after 3. We head to the bottom of the 3rd here in Peninsula. To the bottom of the 3rd inning we go, despite what the scoreboard on the broadcast might have been telling you for a minute. The Miners had made 6 straight outs before putting together a rally to get a run in the last inning. Now it is the Oilers' turn to try and break out of their 0-for-6 funk. They've got Worthgen, Matat, and Berkey due up in the bottom of the 3rd with Ben Dete on for his 3rd inning of work.
Yeah, Ben Dete and the Miners' defense with 2 straight 1-2-3 innings. And you wonder how the Oilers are going to find a way to break through that. Matsu's defense has been like the Great Wall of China, virtually impenetrable so far. So let's see what kind of strategy the Oilers have cooked up to try to combat that.
Worthgen will do you in, the designated hitter. If the Miners' defense is like the Great Wall of China, what do you call the Oilers' defense? A wall that just encourages people to score. It actively lets them score. I don't know what. High for a ball there on Worthgen. Perhaps like a, I don't know, something whose job it is to let things through, you know?
Somebody said screen door besides us.
I heard spaghetti strainer as well. I like that. Here's a 2-0 coming from Dete. And that's in for a strike. Brock Worthgen on the season, batting 100. He's up 3-1 in the count here. Has 1 hit and 10 tries, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. These stats, I don't believe are up to date, but still. Full count now.
Yeah, the updated stats, I believe, show him at 14 at-bats and 8 strikeouts on the season, so he's striking out in over half of his at-bats. He's been very aggressive at the plate, and here comes a potential other one.
Grounded to Richard. A nice play out of the dirt. Digs it out, throws it to Ferry, but he can't connect with him. That one goes all the way to the backstop, but Worthgen couldn't capitalize. He reaches first, probably would have reached anyway. That was a long throw from Richard, and just like how the last inning started, Worthgen legs out an infield hit to start off the third.
Yeah, that was a nice hit by Worthgen, and I love the effort by Ryan Richard. It was going to be a tough throw, like you mentioned. He was basically off balance trying to go to first base, did everything he could, but really there was just no way he was going to be able to beat it out in time. Good effort regardless, but that's the kind of infield hitting that Peninsula needs to see more of. Let's see if Matat can deliver.
Andres Matat takes a strike. Lays down a bunt there, does Matat, throwing on from Dete, but he throws it into the outfield, so that will be an error. Both runners are allowed to advance. Worthgen gets down to second. Matat aboard.
Yeah, Dete kind of air-milled that baseball that time. I'm not sure if he was trying to throw it really quickly and just lost the handle of it or what, but he was just unable to get it there accurately. That's a big mistake and an opportunity now for Peninsula. This is the kind of mistakes that they've capitalized on in the past against the Miners, and now a mistake by Dete here with runners on first and second.
First two men reaching here in the third. Bryce Berkey, the 9-hitter, left fielder, facing off against Dete. That's a bunt, fouled into the dirt. Worthgen at second, Matat at first. A pair of names we've been mispronouncing all season. Here's the 0-1. Another bunt attempt. Popped up that time, but into foul territory, so he can't try that again.
Yeah, he was looking after that bunt, trying to advance the runners at all cost, and with no outs, you can afford to do that. But Ben Dete throws these pitches so quickly that it's really hard to sometimes lay that bunt down. Let's see how Berkey negotiates this.
And he did try it again, in fact. It goes out of the strike zone. Good job by Bouts to stop that and prevent the runners from advancing. Dete wants to keep a runner on first to potentially get a double play here. He needs every out he can get. 1-2, bunted right back to Dete. He throws to third and settles for the force out there. Christian Perez is happy with that. Dete learns from his mistakes and gets a nice throw to get the force out. It will still be runners on first and second as the top of the order comes up once again, but a critical first out has Dete a double play away.
Great decision by Ben Dete that time. That's why you need critical thinking sometimes when it comes to the game of baseball. Decided to go for third. So many players sometimes would choose to go for first, but all that discipline, all that teaching that he's been given over the years tells him, hey, go to third, get the runner out. That's exactly what he does, and didn't panic, executed it perfectly. That's also great redemption after that initial throw that went way over Ryan Richard, so great execution by him and a nice first out.
Ball one comes into Cole Dawson, who started off the game by striking out swinging. And he grounds that to Richard, who gets it in his glove, throws on to second for one, on to first, not quite in time for the double play, so there will be runners on the corners. Another great play by Richard, the scoop and toss to Bisaccia at second. And once again, a pair of ground outs, something that Dete has been pitching to all game long. The defense has got him in a position to escape with no more damage.
Yeah, and Kyle McDaniel coming up at the plate, a guy who only has one hit on the year for Peninsula according to our stats. So this is a great opportunity for Ben Dete, and it'd be a great redemption story after having no outs and runners on first and second. This would be a heck of a way to respond for the Mat-Su defense.
Ball one comes in. This is an interesting scorecard moment here. All four batters in this inning have reached, but no runs have scored because two of them were on fielders' choices where outs were happening elsewhere on the diamond. 1-0. Into left field, past the glove of Richard for a base hit. So the bill comes due for Dete. He almost escapes, but not quite. A run comes in to score in Matat. 1-1, the number of unearned runs per team, and also the score on the scoreboard.
Yeah, beautiful piece of hitting right into shallow left field, and Ryan Richard, a very, very tough guy to deal with when it comes defensively. And that time, it was a perfect shot by McDaniel. That's the kind of hit that the Oilers need to see more of, and did a great job of getting that one past.
So McDaniel's got his second hit of the season, and a big one, RBI. Down to second went Dawson. Apologize that the scoreboard didn't get updated for so long there. Been juggling a lot of things here in the box. Colin Robson up now with a runner on first and second and two away. He popped up to Richard at shortstop to end the first inning. 0-1.
And Robson, we know the danger that he presents. Had a solo home run shot last night. That was the only run that the Oilers scored. So now Bendite has to approach this very, very carefully.
That finds the zone as well, so a quick 0-2. Dete trying to navigate out of this without any further damage. The score being 1-1, surely some PTSD on the side of Matsu. Here's the 0-2. Grounded down the first base line, foul.
We've talked a lot about Colin Robson this season, and there's good reason for it. It's not just here that he's been a great player. He was also a great player at Rice in the past as well. And at South Lake Carroll High School, he was a phenom. Number 25 outfielder in Texas.
Stays alive.
And when it comes to that power hitting, there is nobody better in the Alaska Baseball League than this guy right here, Colin Robson. Makes the lives of pitchers very tough.
A mile-high pop to second base. Bisaccia calling for it. And he's got it on the infield to end the threat. The Miners give up one. A 1-1 score now. A familiar sight on the scoreboard here in Kenai. We'll be heading to the fourth inning now, and Dylan Simmons will take you through the middle part of this game. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube.
Welcome back to Kenai, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call with you this evening. This is Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube, and right now we've got another tied game at 1-1. A familiar scene here at Coral Seymour Memorial Ballpark this week between Matsu and Peninsula, but it's only the top half of the fourth inning, and Christian Perez about to come to the plate.
Perez has flied out to left field in this game. Came in batting .294. With 2 runs batted in, 5 for 17 overall in the season. Had a couple of rough plate appearances late in yesterday's game, coming off the heels of being named Matsu Miners Player of the Week by the esteemed awards committee, to whom you are currently listening.
Very esteemed awards committee, and bit of an off night for him, but we know just how dangerous he can be as he chops this one foul. Count goes to 0-1. He had that 3-hit performance against the Oilers in their first meeting back on that initial Sunday in Palmer, Alaska. Count goes to 0-1 against Max Sasaki. Sasaki fires in a breaking ball. This ball chopping towards third. Throw to first is in time by McDaniel, a 5-3 putout, and one quickly away.
Perez struggling to string together solid plate appearances. He did have a hit yesterday as well, but 1 for 5, not a line you want to see, and that cold stretch continuing into today with Chase Wilcox having the day off. The Miners are a little short for guys they can depend on to get hits. Don Patrizzi as well.
Partner. Kyle McCausland with that one going low. Count goes to 1-0.
And we've talked about it before. This team, despite scoring as many runs as they do, they are really not a great hitting team. In fact, by pretty much every metric except for runs scored, this offense is actually not that good.
Pops this one up towards shallow right field. The second baseman chasing after it, and making the catch is Rothwarg. That is too quickly away on Matsu.
They have not hit a triple or a home run this season. They've only hit 6 doubles. They've been the beneficiary of a lot of
Ferry to second base, loses his helmet. He is going to stop at second with a stand-up double for Matsu.
Just as I said it as well, make that double number 7. Nick Ferry has a solid knock. Just what the Miners needed, a solid piece of hitting over the head of Robson. He jumped up, did everything he could, but a man in scoring position with 2 down for Brandon Durand.
One of the most well-hit balls we've seen in this ballpark here over the last 2 days. Nick Ferry with a signature shot all the way towards dead center field. Now Brandon Durand comes on with 2 outs after the double by Ferry.
Might have had a stream hiccup there, but there's a runner on second with 2 away now, thanks to a monster double by Nick Ferry right at the base of the wall, hit over Colin Robson's head. He's at second. Brandon Durand has been in a funk dating back most of the season. He's hitting 154, 2 runs batted in, and aside from a 2-double, 2-run batted in game against the Anchorage Bucks earlier in the season, he is hitless on the year.
0-1 count, this pitch well inside. A curveball by Sasaki. Does not find the zone. Count goes to 1-1 on Brandon Durand. The man out of Bryant, Somerset, Massachusetts is where he calls home. Had a .251 average this past year. Season high 3 hits versus UMass Lowell back on April 20th. The 1-1 lets this pitch come inside and high for ball 2. Durand working as the DH. Blake Boutz taking his spot as the catcher. Matsu with a great reservoir of catchers on the team right now. Boutz, Vaughn, and Durand all making significant contributions. And now a 2-1 by Sasaki, and that's going to be a swing and a miss. Count goes to 2-2.
Another shout out, I think, deserved by Pedro Camacho, the bullpen catcher on this Matsu Miners team, beloved by his teammates.
That he is. There's a lot of love between this team. In their short time together, they've had a lot of great, valuable experiences, and they've had some fun here in Kenai over the last couple days. Here's a 2-2 Durand, swings and misses. It's going to be a strikeout swinging for Sasaki, and the top of the 4th is over. So Matsu does get a double from Nick Ferry, but that's it. Otherwise, nothing doing in the 4th. We'll be back for the bottom half of the 4th. We'll see if the Oilers can take their first lead of the game. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Kenai, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call with you this evening. It's the Matsu Miners and the Peninsula Oilers in Game 2 of this 5-game series. Game currently tied at 1 apiece, and the Oilers trying to take their first lead of this game and do it in dramatic fashion. Ty Thomas at the plate, 4, 5, 6 leading off for the Oilers here in this frame. Thomas, Cole Wilson, and Max Ruffwarg. Pitch on the way from Ben Dete, still on the bump. Pitch goes low and inside for ball 1.
Not only would it be their first lead of the game, but despite the fact that the Oilers took Game 1, it would be their first lead of the entire series.
Strangely enough, that is the case, as that pitch is high on a curve for ball number 2. Ty Thomas played third base last night for the Oilers and did a pretty impressive job in that spot. Now, working as the first baseman, he'll swing and miss at this one, and the count goes to 2-1.
That game right now in Presto Stats is a tie, which, honestly, all things considered, is probably what it should have been.
And that one just finds the top of the zone for Dete. Nice breaking ball, and the count evens at 2 balls, 2 strikes. Dete so far with 1 strikeout in this game, looking for number 2 right here. The 2-2. And it is going to be just away from the zone. It goes for ball 3. Home plate umpire calling it a little bit low potentially and a little bit outside. Ball 3.
Bounce did a bad frame job on that.
This is a fly ball fouled up and over the stands and towards the Mat-Su Miners Vans. Hopefully that doesn't make contact with any of the windows. Count is full at 3-2.
Pretty sure those things are reinforced enough to withstand impact.
They are strong windows, as that is fouled off of the pole that helps keep up the netting here right in front of the stands. Count full at 3-2.
Ty Thomas grounded out to short to begin the second inning. He was the first of a trio of ground outs in that frame.
Thomas with a ball chopped towards the Miners dugout. Count stays full. And Ty Thomas, like you mentioned, trying to get his first hit of this game with a big payoff pitch on the way from Dete. This ball is lined into left field for a base hit. One aboard for the Oilers as it's Ty Thomas, double TR the initials, and he's got a single.
Third hit allowed in the game by Ben Dete. And second straight inning, he's allowed a leadoff single.
So Ty Thomas on to first, Cole Wilson at the plate, and the Oilers now in business after that full count single. Wilson looking for his first hit against the Mat-Su Miners this season. Pitch from Dete is high for ball 1. Wilson playing in right field. He is a sophomore out of San Diego, California. Plays for UC San Diego. Had one game played this past year and played for Torrey Pines High School. Here's a fly ball into center field. It's going to get down for a base hit. 2 straight singles for the Oilers. And Peninsula starting to make up some ground against Ben Dete in this Mat-Su defense.
Dete in trouble here. The Iowa Hawkeye for the second straight inning has got to navigate out of a jam, and this time he can't even point to errors in the field as the reason why. Could this be the first earned run of the game?
We'll have to keep an eye to see what Ty LeBrun wants to do in this situation if he tries to go to another pitcher. Dete will watch this one be laid down for a bunt. It's a nice bunt right down the third base line. The throw is, as there's a collision, the ball is going to get away. A run's going to score for the Oilers. And Peninsula has taken the lead on a wild carom, as it was Max Rothwarg who ended up colliding with the first baseman, Nick Ferry. Ferry unable to get the baseball, and Peninsula scores a run.
Yeah, he ran right into Ferry. Ferry couldn't make that play. That should have been called interference, but he's allowed to stay on first. That definitely is a dubious moment right there. Base running by Rothwarg. You are definitely not allowed to run into first base directly into the path of the fielder who's trying to make the play, but unfortunately that goes the Oilers' way. Ty Thomas comes around to score, and there's that first lead they've been chasing. 2-1 the score now.
Yeah, that was bizarre from Rothwarg, and it looked like right as the ball was arriving towards Ferry, he just all of a sudden collided with him, and Ferry got knocked down. There was nothing that he could do to go after the baseball, and as a result, Ty Thomas able to easily get to home plate. So that was a bizarre turn of events, and as a result, it's going to be runners on the corners with a run just having been scored. And Peninsula is in some serious business now.
Steve Hecker had to come out to talk with Ben Dete. Left him in the game to face off against Worthgen, who led off the last inning with a single. He's 1 for 1.
So Worthgen at the plate for Peninsula after he got a single against Ben Dete, which was the first hit of the game for the Oilers. That coming in the third inning, like you mentioned, partner. And now he's got an opportunity at an RBI right here that could easily score Cole Wilson over at third. Shows bunt, it's high, and it's ball 1.
Rothwarg taking a big lead off of first. We've not seen Blake Bouts play catcher much. He was only there for 1/2 inning last night after being subbed in.
1-0 count. Worthgen working as the DH pops a bunt way up, and it goes up and over the netting. And somewhere above the crowd, count is going to be 1-1.
Lots of gamesmanship afoot here. Lots of showing bunts, pulling it back at the last moment, fouling it 20 feet in the air. Just trying to rack the pitch count up.
It's a small ball strategy by Peninsula here in the fourth inning. Another bunt show by Worthgen. This pitch is high, and ball number 2.
They've clearly identified a weakness in Ben Dete's fielding, and they are consistently challenging him to make the right play, make the right throw to get batters out, which he has not consistently been able to do.
Yeah, that's a great thing to notice, partner, because it does seem like they're going back to that bunting strategy over and over, and Dete has had issues with playing these bunts out so far. It's cost the Miners on a couple of occasions, including that last big bunt by Cole Wilson, or Max Rothward, check it, and now Brock Worthgen trying to join the party. Here's a bunt fouled just off the end of the bat, and the count will go full for a 3-2. Remember, it was a 3-2 that allowed Ty Thomas to get a single that started off this inning.
The other thing about this strategy is it forces Dete to throw strikes because they can always just pull the bunt back and take a walk. It limits their options with the bat, but when you're having defensive issues like this, as that's going to be a pickle.
Yeah, the runner tries to go to second. The throw from first is in time. Great work by Nick Ferry and Nick Bisaccia for Matsu. Able to link up, check it. It's actually Ryan Richard who was over there in the shortstop spot getting to second base. Great awareness by Ferry and Richard, and they're able to get an out on Max Rothward.
That's up by Blake Boutz, too. He caught Rothward in no man's land. He had to make a break for it. It was actually pretty close than it had any right to be. He turned on the jets but was not able to make it in time.
And that is going to be, as they're going to throw over to first base.
That's strike three.
Was a delayed call. Yeah, they ended up calling a strike, and Worthgen kind of just hesitated for a second, then took off.
They appealed to the first base umpire to see if he swung. The umpire said that he did, so that's why he had to wait to run. So, quick 2 outs there. 2 outs on 1 pitch.
As Matat comes on for Peninsula after the strikeout by Brock Worthgen. Runner on third is Cole Wilson, the right fielder. Dete with the pitch. All of a sudden, Matsu has a chance to limit what seemingly looked like a lot of damage here in this frame. If they can manage to keep Wilson from scoring, but easier said than done against Matat, who already has reached base once today. There's a strike, count goes to 1-1.
He reached on one of the first and what turned out to be the most costly defensive mistake by Dete on a throw over to first base. Later came around to score.
That pitch is low for ball number 2. Matat so far on the season for the Oilers with 7 at-bats and does not have a hit yet, according to the updated stats for the Oilers. That could change right here. This is going to be a chopper to short, and Richard can't field it cleanly. A run's going to score for the Oilers. Cole Wilson comes home. It's an E6 and a 3-1 lead for Peninsula.
The second error of the game, that one, the run was going to score regardless, but that's still unfortunate for Matsu as the inning continues. Ryan Richard, normally as sure with the glove as they come, and uncharacteristic error, just everything going wrong here for the Miners, and they're down by 2.
Yeah, Ryan Richard, one who does not usually have that kind of mistake happen, as that pitch is high for ball 1. He's usually so good when it comes to fielding the baseball in those chopper situations, but that time, unable to do it.
And actually, that run is going to be unearned because there were 2 outs. The inning should have been over.
Bouncing ball to second, picked up by Bisaccia, throw to Ferry. There's the Pirate put out a 4-3, and that does it for the bottom half of the 4th. But the Oilers put 2 runs on the board, the last of which was an unearned run on an E6 for Cole Wilson. So 3-1, Oilers on top. We'll be back for the top of the 5th. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to the Kenai Peninsula, where the Peninsula Oilers are taking care of business against the Mat-Su Miners. Here at home, up 3-1 on Mat-Su, trying to get a second consecutive victory here in their first 2 home games of the season. But Mat-Su trying to lead a charge back to the front. Nick Bisaccia will lead off for Mat-Su. Bisaccia, Scow, and Kerr, 7-8-9 due up for Mat-Su in this inning as they try to respond after 2 runs scored by Peninsula in the bottom half of the 4th.
These 3 all were able to reach base 2 innings ago. Bisaccia had a single, as did Drake Kerr, batting 9th. Riker Scow reached on a fielder's choice. That was the 1 run that the Miners have scored.
Another nice curveball by Sasaki, a little bit low that time, though, for ball 1. After last night's games, the top of the ABL standing still looks relatively the same. The Bucks now at 5-2 after their loss to the Anchorage Glacier Pilots, as that goes in for strike 2. The Miners obviously at 4-2 in ABL play. Bucks are not in action tonight, so Mat-Su can equal the Bucks record if they can win tonight against the Oilers. But so far, Peninsula is holding the advantage. The 1-2, this pitch in the dirt by Sasaki, and the count's going to even at 2 balls, 2 strikes. The other ABL game tonight is the Anchorage Glacier Pilots and the Chugiak Eagle River Chinooks. Game tied at 0-0 currently in the top half of the 5th inning. A 2-2. This ball lined too short, picked up, thrown to first, and he got it there in time. Nice play by Cole Dawson, a 6-3 putout, able to get it to Ty Thomas, 1 away.
That was a really nice play. That ball took a really weird hop off of the or off of the mound, I should say, and Dawson had to adjust on the fly, but that's what these guys train day after day in order to do, and it worked out for him there.
Yeah, it took a couple of odd bounces off of the infield dirt, and the grass for that matter, but Dawson able to keep his wits about him and get the out. Now we're going to see Riker Scow come on, who, like we talked about earlier, was in the middle of all that drama last night in the 11th inning when he came in as a courtesy runner for Mat-Su for Blake Bouts and had that wild situation take place. That's a nice breaking ball for a strike by Sasaki. The count is going to be 1-1. Riker Scow so far on the season with 14 at-bats coming into this game, and he has forced the most walks of any Miner with 6 total on the year. This ball is going to be flown out and fouled. Count will quickly go to 1-2 for the man out of BYU.
The official call at the end of that game was that he left second base before the ball was in Colin Robson's glove out in center field on a sacrifice fly. For what it's worth, going back through the footage of that YouTube VOD, which, to be fair, is extremely grainy and hard to see, it did not appear that he obviously left early. If he did leave early, it was very, very close. And it was a judgment call either way. A very surprising one at that.
Absolutely was, as we see Sasaki take his time on the mound. It was a call that directly changed what could have been the outcome of the game. That pitch low for ball 3. Instead of Mat-Su having 1 out and a runner at third, it was instead 2 outs and nobody on base. So it immediately impacted the overall context of the game. Now a full count for Riker Scow, trying to deliver tonight. He's going to bang this one off the end of his bat. Bouncing to short, throw to first is going to be not in time. Riker Scow able to beat out the throw, getting to first base. Cole Dawson doing everything he can, but that ball just hit lightly enough to get him on to first.
Scow once again showing off the speed. That was a really close play at first. I actually thought he might have been very slightly out, but the call goes in his favor. He's got the reputation to prove it, and he's on with 1 away.
Drake Kerr will come on now for Mat-Su after the Scow single. Kerr so far has 1 single of his own in this game, and his first at-bat was able to reach second on a stolen base. 1 away here in the top of the 5th. Throw back to first is unsuccessful to Ty Thomas. Trying to do something about Riker Scow, who's also a very effective base stealer for Mat-Su.
So the Miners already with 4 hits in this game, and just as we were talking about last game, 3 of them from the 7-8-9 hitters.
This ball popped up and fouled. Up and out of the ballpark. Count is going to go quickly to 0-1. Drake Kerr and a few of the Miners took a plunge in the ocean this morning, right around noon, right around lunchtime, and they were obviously very cold after all that took place, but they were excited to get out there and experience what Alaskan water is like, and they certainly won't be forgetting it.
I knew that was going to happen at some point while we were here. I was hoping that we would be privy to when it was going to happen. We only got to see the aftermath of them showing up shivering with towels over them.
Yeah, they came into the house and they were loaded up with towels. This ball popped up into the infield. The first baseman wants it, and the catch is made past the first base line by Ty Thomas, and that's 2 away.
And Riker Scow is extremely lucky that that ball was hit as high in the air as it was, because it was hit right at the first baseman. Scow was running, so he had to turn around and run all the way back. If that was a little bit lower, then Thomas at first could have just caught the ball, stepped on the bag, and that would have been an inning-ending double play. So the Miners get a second lease on life here with Richard.
Yeah, instead of that, Matsu's still alive, and now Ryan Richard, a man who has been dangerous this season at the plate, but has flown out twice in this game. As he lets that go by, a fastball by Sasaki and a strike. Counts 0-1.
Overall this season, Richard hitting .375, which is far and away the best on the team. 9 hits and 24 at-bats, 2 runs batted in.
Most hits on the team by quite a wide margin. The throw to second here. Scow tries to steal it. He got there in time. The ball gets away. Scow thought about going to the hot corner, but decides to quickly retreat. He'll stay at second base with a stolen base.
And that was a good decision. He would have almost certainly been out. Max Rothwarg with a cannon for an arm. And he can definitely connect with McDaniel at third. So another runner in scoring position. Richard trying to get his first hit of the day.
Scow in scoring position. Richard trying to bring him home with 2 outs. High fly ball to left field. Chasing after it is Berkey. It's going to go into foul ground, and he makes the catch. So Bryce Berkey ends the top half of the 5th inning, and again, the Miners come up empty. Riker Scow getting into scoring position, but that's all. Score is still 3-1, Peninsula on top. We'll be right back to Kenai when we return. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to the Peninsula. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. There's a new pitcher on the mound for the Matsu Miners. It is Jack Hostetler making his first appearance of the series, Charlie.
Jack Hostetler has been used a lot by the Miners in a long relief role, and it's probably what he's going to do here today. Out of Encinitas, California, Whitman College, a 6'3" righty, had a 4.54 ERA and 75 and a third innings pitched with Whitman. And so far this season, he has been absolutely excellent for the Miners. Hostetler, one of only a couple pitchers left in the ABL with a 0.00 ERA. Through 6 innings of work, he's allowed just 1 hit, is 1-0 during those appearances as well. He had a great stint against the Anchorage Glacier Pilots in the home opener as the Miners came back to win that game. He'll try and do the same here today.
Coming in relief of Bendite, and he immediately fires in a strike. Count goes to 0-1. Cole Dawson at the plate. And he has been possibly the best pitcher that the Matsu Miners have at their disposal. And he's getting a lot of talk from potential D1 programs at the moment who might be interested in having him on their roster in the future as he fires in another strike, and the count goes to 0-2.
Cole Dawson has struck out swinging and reached on a fielder's choice today. 0 for 2.
0-2. Pitch by Hostetler. This is going to be a chopper towards first. Hostetler coming over. The throw from Ferry, and he got there in time. What a great defensive tandem by Nick Ferry and Jack Hostetler. Hostetler immediately stepping into the game and making an impact.
Great effort there by Dawson. The ultra-elusive dive into first base you almost never see. Almost worked out for him. Once again, a bang-bang play goes in favor of Matsu.
So Jack Hostetler able to get to the bag in time, and great throw by Nick Ferry as we see Kyle McDaniel at the plate, the man who's got the Dougie as his walkout song. This is going to be fouled off the end of his bat. The count goes to 0-1. That brings back a lot of early 2010s memories.
He's also got a run batted in today. He drove in Andres Matat back in the third.
RBI single for Kyle McDaniel, trying to replicate that right here. This pitch outside by Hostetler, and the count's going to quickly go to 1-1.
Well, they'd have to clear the fence to get another RBI, but I see what you mean.
1-1 count. Hey, anything's possible, and you never know what's going to happen in the Alaska Baseball League. And against the Matsu Miners, the Peninsula Oilers have been very good when it comes to home runs. At least one guy has. So you got to keep all options open as the count's 2-1.
And in case you ever think you do know what's going to happen in the ABL, go ahead and watch the highlight reel from yesterday's game. It's on our YouTube.
This is going to be a comebacker up the middle. Play by Richard to first, and he got there in time. Great rundown by Ryan Richard, showing off the speed, able to get to first base with a 6-3 putout.
If you know anything about Richard, he's an excellent defender, and I'm sure he's kicking himself right now that he's got one of the runs against his team in this game charged to him on that E6. So he's going to be even more locked in than normal with the glove for the rest of the game.
Yeah, that uncharacteristic mistake obviously weighs heavy on the mind of Ryan Richard, a player who's usually so flawless when it comes to his infield defense. Now a 2-out situation. Pitch by Hostetler, a nice curveball for a strike. Count goes to 0-1. This is the man, the myth, the legend against the Miners, Colin Robson. Already with 2 home runs on the year, but so far today is 0-2. A couple of pop-ups. Lets this go by and another strike.
He's the only Oiler that has not reached base.
So an uncharacteristic performance so far for him in front of his home crowd. Trying to put a runner on base here in the bottom half of the 5th. Hostetler, the throw. This ball is going to be, or check it, it's actually a strike, and that'll be a throw to first. That'll do it for the bottom half of the 5th inning. So the score is still 3-1. Matsu is behind the Peninsula Oilers. We'll be back for the top of the 6th. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Kenai, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call, and a new pitcher on the mound for the Oilers, currently on top 3-1 over Matsu. It is Cameron Tepper.
Max Sasaki's day is done. I'm actually a little surprised. He only lasted 5 innings, did not allow an earned run, just 3 hits, struck out 1, but Cameron Tepper on to relieve him. 5'11" lefty out of Cal Baptist, Corona, California. Did not appear in a game with the Lancers this past season. Originally out of Santiago High School. So far this season for the Oilers, Tepper has appeared a couple times, 2 innings in total, has allowed 1 hit, no runs. So a good bridge man out of the bullpen. They might ask for multiple innings out of him today, and he's got the heart of the minors' order due up.
Nice redemptive performance by Max Sasaki after his initial tough game against Matsu in the past, able to deliver today, and now we'll see if the Miners can go to work on Cameron Tepper. Blake Boutz leading off for Matsu in this frame, then it'll go Perez and McCausland, 2-3-4 for Matsu.
Our YouTube chat currently overrun with Oilers fans. We're happy, of course, to have you all here. Whenever we play the Oilers, we get a huge uptick in viewers, so we know you guys are very passionate.
Yeah, I love to see the passion from Oilers fans and happy to have you on the broadcast. It's been a couple of good games, good defensive games for Matsu and Peninsula so far in this series. 0-1 count will become a 1-1 count. That pitch a little bit high and outside by Tepper. And now a 1-1.
Boutz is grounded out to short and reached on an error.
The 1-1, Boutz lets it go by, handled by the catcher Matat, and the count will go to 2-1.
Once again, the story of the game is the top of the lineup for Matsu. The top 6 are combined 0 for 13. 1 for 13. Ferry did have the double, and Boutz reached on an error, but that still counts as an out. So just getting all their production from the last 3 hitters, mathematically, that's not going to work out in the long term.
Count goes to 2-2 for Boutz. Here's a opposite field shot that's going to land in foul ground, and the count stays at 2-2. So Boutz trying to get one into the left field area, just couldn't manage it. The man out of UCLA, a freshman, and he's actually on was on trimesters for UCLA this past year. That's why he came in late. But now is with the Miners and trying to make an impact. This is going to be fouled off the home plate area.
He can swing it at 258. His freshman season with UCLA, originally from Rancho Santa Margarita in California. Had 3 of those hits against Pepperdine, also drove in 2 runs in that one. 8 hits in total in limited experience.
Trying to do it here with the Miners. This one, a line shot towards right, but he just fouls it to the right of the right field line. And the count will stay at 2-2 for the UCLA man.
Thought that one might finally be getting down. He's waiting for his first hit for the Miners. Had a couple very critical chances last night where he got thrown into the fire and could not deliver, but still working off some of that rust.
Lets this one go high for ball 3. The count running full at 3-2, reached on an E6 last time. And trying to make things happen here. Get on base once again. This ball line shot towards left field for a base hit. It went right by the man in the hot corner, Kyle McDaniel, and Blake Boutz has his first ever hit as a Matsu Miner.
And that's not what you want to see from Cam Tepper, allow a hit in your first batter. When Max Sasaki was dealing the way he was, it's an interesting decision by Kevin McCann, the head coach of Peninsula, to go into the bullpen this early, and it might come back to bite him here. Christian Perez has a man on.
So now Christian Perez back on the field for Matsu at the home plate area. We'll see what he can do in the batter's box this time. This ball popped up into shallow left. Dawson chasing after it, but instead the left fielder, Berkey, will come in to make the catch. One away quickly.
And Perez, we seem to have jinxed him by awarding him with Player of the Week, because since then I believe he is, what does that make him, 1 for 8? 1 for 9?
Yeah, 1 for 8 overall.
Yeah.
Been a tough stretch for Christian Perez. Trying to overcome that, and there's still plenty of time to do so. Just on a bit of a cold streak right now. In the pretty big cold here in Kenai. This is going to be a line shot that sits down for a base hit. Hit on a rope by Kyle McCausland, and a single for Matsu. 1 from Boutz, 1 from McCausland here in the top half of this inning. And the Miners are in business with runners at first and second.
And McCausland needed that one. That breaks him out of a little mini slump. He'd been hitting 105 this season with just 2 hits and 19 at-bats, but he smacks a single there. Once again, the Miners threatening early in the inning. Nick Ferry hit a double his last time up, so he's the man you want.
Stand-up double for Matsu. Now Ferry trying to deliver again. This pitch high by Tepper, and the count goes to 1-0.
He also grounded out to the pitcher in this game. Overall, hitting 188 heading into today. Has walked 5 times, driven in 1 run. He can grab at least 1 more here with a solid hit.
Pitch on the way from Tepper, and again it's high for ball number 2, just above the zone for Nick Ferry, who's had a pretty productive day over there near first base. Has done a good job on the defensive side, and already has a double in this game. Now let's see if he can get one more shining moment here tonight. This is going to be a bouncing ball right to first base. It's a fair ball, and that's going to be one of the easiest outs ever for Ty Thomas, an unassisted out by the first baseman.
But that is the most productive out you could have asked for. Down to second and third go McCausland and Blee. Brandon Durand, who you know he's got some power, you know he's due. This would be as good a time as any for him to break out of that slump, get a solid hit, and drive in a couple more runs, tie this game up.
And we said if there's one guy who has been due for a deep shot, it's this guy right here, Brandon Durand. We've seen him do it so many times this year as he swings and misses at that one for an 0-1 count. You can tell he was going for somewhere far and deep that time.
He was definitely thinking about it. If he could reach, Nick Bisaccia would bat, who has a hit today.
Count is 0-1. This ball fouled into the netting, the very top part of it. Count going to 0-2. Brandon Durand struck out swinging in his last at-bat and had a 6-3 ground out in his first.
That was the only strikeout that Max Sasaki got. Durand definitely does not want to be the guy that strikes out twice when everybody else in the lineup has struck out 0 times, especially in a moment like this.
Yeah, another opportunity for Matsu to score. They haven't been able to a lot in this series. That breaking ball is just high, and the count's going to go to 1-2.
Durand out of Bryant, Somerset, Massachusetts, my neck of the woods. Very far from home.
1-2 count. Durand lets it go by. It's a strikeout looking, and that's one that he's probably going to want back. So a big moment for Cameron Tepper, able to get the strikeout on Durand and leave 2 runners stranded on base, both of them in scoring position. Matsu once again coming up empty. We'll be right back for the bottom half of this inning. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Kenai, Alaska. We are live at Coral Seymour Memorial Ballpark. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. And the Matsu Miners down 3-1 to the Peninsula Oilers here in the bottom half of the 6th inning, trying to mount a comeback, but the defense is going to have to step up with Jack Hostetler leading the charge once again. On the offense here for Peninsula at the plate is Ty Thomas, the first baseman, who so far has a single tonight and is trying to add to that. Hostetler with a curveball in there for a strikeout, goes to 0-1.
He was lights out last inning, but Thomas Wilson and Rothwarg had 3 straight singles to begin the 4th inning off of Ben Dete that resulted in 2 runs coming in to score, so he'll need to vanquish them here.
Beautiful strike by Hostetler that time. He absolutely caught Ty Thomas, who swung at that one late, and the count is going to go to 0-2 here. Let's see if Jack Hostetler can get his second strikeout of this game. Took out Colin Robson to end the last inning. This is going to be a ground ball right to Richard. Throw to first is easily in time, a 6-3 putout, and 1 away.
Ryan Richard doing that in his sleep, essentially. Just another day at the office, one down.
Yeah, he eats that up for dinner every single time. So after the 6-3 putout, it's Cole Wilson who will come on, who also had a single in his last at-bat against Ben DeTay. Back-to-back singles for the Oilers in that sequence, and now trying to get the offense reignited against Jack Hostetler, as that pitch is inside, ball 1.
Hostetler, just a reminder, in 6 innings so far this season has allowed just 1 run, or 1 hit rather, 0 runs.
He has been sensational from the mound for Matsu. One of the best colleges, or one of the best pitchers in Whitman College history. Count going to 2-0 right here.
And he has not walked anybody either, which comes out to an astronomically low 0.17 walks and hits per innings pitched, which is only going lower the more outs he gets so far today.
Nice fastball for a strike there. Count going to 2-1 on Cole Wilson, the right fielder, who's also had a 4-3 ground out in this game. This ball chopped foul to the left of the third base line, right past Christian Perez, and the count is going to even. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
He set down his first 5 men. They'll need an effort like the one he gave against the Pilots 2 weeks ago if the Miners want to mount a comeback.
This ball is going to be flown over the netting for a foul, and the count will stay at 2-2. The Oilers so far this season, as a team, are batting for a total of 181 as a batting average with 3 homers and a 271 slugging percentage. As that's going to be a hit-by pitch right near the helmet, it looked like, of Cole Wilson. He's on to first base, and Hostetler with a rare mistake.
First hit by pitch of the game. Of course, they've only hit 2 home runs, as you recall. Yeah.
Yes. That 1 home run, obviously, not counting from last night. So 2 home runs, both against Matsu. And 11 total runs scored this season before this game by the Oilers. That's going to be 14 now after the 3 runs they've scored so far in this game. Hostetler fires in a pitch, and that one is going to be a strike for an 0-1 count. Max Rothwarg at the plate.
Had that single where he ran into Nick Ferry at first base, also is grounded out to third.
Hostetler with his patient pitching here, and he fires in another strike. The count going to 0-2 on Rothwarg, who is the second baseman today for Peninsula. Hostetler doesn't rush his pitching sequence, always takes his time, wants to make sure he gets it right. This pitch in the dirt, Baltz is able to get a handle on it. Didn't get too far away from him, and that time we saw that Cole Wilson just decided to stay at the base.
Rothwarg, one of the Oilers' best hitters, came into the day hitting .364. Has not batted in any runs, though. Also drawn a pair of walks.
1-2 count, pitch by Hostetler. This ball popped up and fouled. Count will stay at 1-2 for Rothwarg. Rothwarg for Peninsula, a man out of Swarthmore College, Garnett. Been a critical piece this year for Peninsula. This is going to be a chopper right to first base. That's 1 out. The throw to second base is not going to be in time, as we see Ryan Richard try to make a play on it. Cole Wilson able to get there just in the nick of time, but a heck of an effort by Nick Ferry to try to get it over there.
Bisaccia probably could have had a better tag on that. Ferry had a good throw, but Bisaccia took a little bit of time getting his glove down there, and Wilson was able to slide in, so he's into scoring position now with 2 away. Brock Worthgen with a hit and a strikeout today. Trying to keep this inning going. The Oilers know what this offense can do on the Matsu side, and they want as much insurance as they can get, as they can procure, Don Orsillo would say.
As they can procure. Brock Worthgen at the plate. There is a runner in scoring position for Peninsula. Pitched by Jack Hostetler. Nice strike. Count goes to 0-1. Worthgen struck out swinging his last at-bat. He does have 1 single in this game. Hostetler trying to keep the lead at 2 for the team from Kenai. Pitch by Hostetler, check swing, and they're going to call that a strike. Count's going to go to 1-1.
He just went around there, tried to hold up but couldn't.
Actually going to be 0-2. Apologize, was looking at the scoreboard that time. 0-2 for Worthgen. Hostetler with a massive pitch. This is not quite in the zone, a little bit off. Count will now go to 1-2 on the DH for Peninsula. Brock Worthgen, who has been very solid from behind the dish this year, but is now working as a DH tonight, trying to get his second hit and make himself 2 for 3 this evening. This ball is going to be a grounder right to Ryan Richard. Richard off balance, throws to first, and a dandy of a play. That's going to be out number 3. Ryan Richard making the difference, a 6-3 putout, and the score still 3-1, Peninsula on top. We'll be right back for the top half of the 7th. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Kenai, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. The Mat-Su Miners down 3-1 to the Peninsula Oilers in this dogfight of a game. We saw a slugfest in Game 1, and we're seeing a very similar style of game in Game number 2. But Peninsula has already scored 3 times the runs that they scored in Game 1, and they have a 2-run advantage. Nick Bisaccia and company trying to change that. Cameron Tepper still on the mound. This ball popped up and fouled. The count goes to 0-1.
Tepper did allow a pair of hits in his last inning, the 6th, where he debuted, and the 3 batters he is due to face have combined 3 in this game.
This ball is a very similar result. A little bit of deja vu. Count goes to 0-2. Kind of the same style of foul ball for Nick Bisaccia. Cameron Tepper, the southpaw out of Corona, California, and Cal Baptist, as this ball is going to also be fouled by Bisaccia. This time it stays within the yard. Count going to 0-2. So far for him, he has had a heck of a career in the high school ranks. Was the co-pitcher of the year at Santiago High School. This pitch goes by Bisaccia. You can tell Tepper likes to work quick. Count going to 1-2.
Bisaccia has singled and reached on a fielder's choice. Has also scored the only run of the day for Mat-Su.
Now Tepper with a 1-2 pitch. This ball once again popped up and fouled towards the right field area. Once again at 1-2. Nick Bisaccia extending this at-bat, playing it very well, just staying alive, trying to get himself aboard.
Misspoke. The line I just said belonged to Riker Scow, who's due up next. Bisaccia has hit a single and also grounded out.
That single coming in his first at-bat of the game as that pitch not quite able to find the zone. A 2-2. This ball comes right towards us, and the net thankfully there to protect us. Kind of like how the netting catches the fish around this area. A net here to catch the baseballs, a net in the river to catch all the salmon that come up, and the run should be starting soon.
Now, in that analogy, the batter is just another combat fisherman.
That he is. This ball is lined towards center field. It's going to get down for a base hit. and Nick Bisaccia is aboard with a single for Matsu. That is his second hit of the day, and Matsu is starting off the top of the 7th strong.
He's had himself a day, and once again, a leadoff base runner. The Miners having opportunities all throughout this game. Riker Scow, as I mentioned, has scored, singled, reached on a fielder's choice, has 2 steals today, which extends his ABL lead. If he can get on the base pass, that is trouble for the Oilers.
Already done it twice today. Swings and misses here. Count goes to 0-1 in terms of getting on base, Riker Scow, that is. Got on first in the first at-bat of the game and then had a single in the second at-bat. Count is going to be 0-1. As that pitch goes high and evens the count. Cameron Tepper, lefty on the bump, always presents some unique matchups for the right-handed hitters and can make things interesting for them. Riker Scow trying to help Matsu to tie this game up. Throw back to first. Here's Bisaccia cruising his way to second. The throw gets all the way towards left field. Bisaccia is going to stay at the bag, but able to take second base, and that could have been a lot worse for Peninsula.
That is inexcusable from Ty Thomas. He got the ball from Tepper and had Bisaccia dead to rights, and he kind of just stood there and casually tossed it to second base as if the out was a foregone conclusion. And Bisaccia made him pay. He slid into second base, disrupted the throw a little bit, and if Berkey out and left hadn't covered that, he could have rounded second.
Scow, high fly ball, deep to right. Coming towards it here is Cole Wilson, and he is not going to be able to make the catch. He bobbled it. Bisaccia on to third, and Matsu has runners in the corners in chaotic fashion.
Just like that, a couple of devastating gaffes in the field. One of them will be an error, one of them won't. But runners will be on the corners with 0 out. This is the story for Peninsula in the past. These fielding mistakes come to bite them at the worst possible time. Just when you feel like they're cruising along, the ultra-rare E9 results in Riker Scow reaching for the 3rd time today. Bisaccia gets down to 3rd. And Drake Kerr can do some serious damage here.
No outs as Kerr tries a bunt, and it goes well towards the netting. Count goes to 0-1, and all of a sudden, the script has flipped for Matsu, who is trying to potentially give themselves their first real offensive outburst in this game and have it happen in the top of the 7th. Here's a bunt laid down beautifully along the first base line. A run's going to score, and Matsu has brought it to a 1-run game. A sac bunt for Drake Kerr has brought in Nick Bisaccia, and it's a 3-2 ball game.
That's the second bunt he's laid down today, and while he didn't manage to make it to first like he did back in the 3rd inning, he does something even better. Get the Miners on the board, 3-2.
Riker Scow advancing to second on that bunt. Bisaccia coming in, 1 away, and that'll bring us back to the top of the order. Ryan Richard at the plate, and Matsu trying to claw their way back into this baseball game.
Richard is 0 for 3 with a pair of flyouts and a pop-out.
This is going to go right into the net. Count goes to 0-1 on a foul ball. Ryan Richard, the statistically most consistent hitter for Matsu this season, trying to use that to his advantage here. He's been quiet today. No hits yet, but it would be a perfect time to get one if he could manage it right here for the 4-2 Miners.
Came into the day batting .375, which leads the club. 0 for 3 is going to drop that a little bit, but he would take an RBI over batting average any day.
He's going to try the bunt, lays it down well. Throw to first is in time. That's going to be out number 2, but he is able to advance Riker Scow onto third base, and Matsu has the tying run in the hot corner with Blake Bouts coming up.
I like the approach of testing the defense of Cameron Tepper. You never know when the pitcher is going to lose track and throw the ball over the first baseman's head. Didn't happen either of those times. Tepper was excellent with the leather, but it still gets the speedy Riker Scow into third base. A familiar position for him. He occupied it briefly in the closing moments of last night's game before it was taken from him. This time he'll try to make it better.
Pitch on the way, and it's high by Tepper for ball number 1. Almost looked like it went over the helmet of Bouts. Not quite, but the optics of it still a bit off. Bouts with a 1-0 count. 2 away. Bouts lets it go by. And again, it's high outside the zone for ball 2.
Just missed. Got the outside corner. Didn't get the call, though. Bouts with a single. Reached on an error and is grounded out.
Got a single in his last at-bat, did Blake Bounce, making his first start of the year today. Trying to make a huge impact. Opposite field shot. This one is going to get down for a base hit. Blake Bounce scores an RBI, and Matsu has tied the game at 3 runs apiece.
An incredible piece of hitting. Blake Bounce, in this game alone, has pulled himself into a tie for the lead among the catchers on the Matsu Miners with 2 hits on the season. But he's got him in 2 of his first 3 at-bats as a starter. And he's already got his first RBI too. Matsu fights back and ties the game.
What a clutch RBI single by Blake Bounce. Able to get it into the left field area, a bloop shot. And now Christian Perez comes on, trying to make it a bit more dramatic. This game has been all tied up as the count goes to 0-1.
And you just think back to those errors. You know, it's another unearned run on the part of the Oilers. There was that lazy play from first base.
This is lined and caught by the shortstop, Cole Dawson, on the hop. Cole Dawson showing some elevation in a dramatic top half of the 7th inning. But the Miners do tie it. Blake Bounce with a clutch bloop single to give the Miners a tie game, bringing in Riker Scow. Welcome back to Coral Seymour Memorial Ballpark. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call with you this evening. It is Game 2 of a 5-game series between the Matsu Miners and the Peninsula Oilers. And Matsu tying the game with an improbable top half of the 7th inning. Blake Bounce making his first start of the year for Matsu, making one of the clutchest plays of the year for the Miners. A bloop single scoring Riker Scow, tying this game up at 3. Jack Hostetler still on the mound, firing in a strike for an 0-1 count, as it is Andres Matat who is leading off in this frame for the Oilers.
Hostetler, the Encinitas kid, has pitched very well, as he has every time he's appeared for the Miners this season. And every time he's appeared, it's been in the highest leverage of situations. Head coach Tyler Brunn clearly trusts him in a close deficit, a tie game, what have you.
0-2 count. Hostetler wheeling and dealing once again. This ball is lined and fouled towards the Oilers' dugout. Count's going to stay at no balls and 2 strikes.
Now, if this game, I'm not even going to speak it into existence, but those who were watching yesterday know the potential this game still has.
Yeah, we could be a long way from over. If last night is any indication, that's going to be a swinging strikeout for Jack Hostetler. Another K for him, another man down for the Oilers. That'll send on Bryce Berkey with 1 away.
That's his second K, which equals Date's effort. Through his first 2 1/3 innings, he's allowed just 1 hit by pitch, no runs, no hits. Bryce Berkey in this game has reached on a fielder's choice and grounded out to second.
So now Berkey coming on, who has thus far not managed to hit in the game. 1-out situation here. Pitch by Hostetler is high for ball number 1. The pitching last night was great for Matsu as well, but they were unable to get the win. Tonight, it's very solid once again in the offense, coming through clutch in the top half of the 7th. This might be the formula to get themselves a comeback victory. There's a swing and a miss, and the count going to 1-1.
Matsu, they've gotten unearned runs in this game, but they are out hitting Peninsula 7-3, which would suggest that regression to the mean, they will come out on top today.
Here's a ground ball to second, picked up, Bisaccia throws to first in time, and that's going to be a 4-3 put out and 2 away.
It's a rough sequence from Berkey. Of course, in that top half of the inning, he gambled big on the bloop shot off the bat of Blake Bouts into left field, tried to dive and catch it, couldn't quite make it, and that let the run come in essentially for free.
And we go back to the top of the order. Cole Dawson at the plate for Peninsula. Jack Hostetler trying to answer the call one more time. This pitch in the dirt and low. Ball 1.
Dawson has struck out swinging, reached on a fielder's choice, grounded out to the pitcher. First crack at Hostetler here.
Hostetler has done a good job of managing this game as he will fire in another low pitch for ball number 2, not allowing this Oilers offense, which was making some progress early on in the middle innings, to really gain any sort of advantage. They scored 3 combined runs between the 3rd and 4th innings, but so far they've had little success since then.
The count there briefly read 1 ball and 9 strikes. So
never heard of that before.
Someone had a rollover digit there, going from 0 to 9.
9 strikes. I'll tell you what, Jack Hostetler is just built different. 3-0 count, and he put this one high, ball 4. Oilers with life, a walk issued by Hostetler. Cole Dawson on to first.
That's the first walk issued by the Mat-Su Miners today, but not a great spot for it. He's got a pitch with a man on for just the second time. Kyle McDaniel has smacked a single in this game, also grounded out twice.
These Peninsula Oilers will just not go away in this game and in this series just when you think they might be down for the count. As here's a throw to second. The throw is in time. What a job by Blake Bouts. Back-to-back clutch plays between the frames in the 7th inning. What a throw to second base, getting a runner out, and the freshman from UCLA has turned the tide in this game. As we're moving on to the top half of the 8th, the score is still tied at 3. Charlie Fells will take you the rest of the way home. We'll be right back. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube.
To the 8th inning we go. Charlie Fellows back behind the mic with Dylan Simmons by my side as always. And what a game it's been so far. 3-3 the score as we head into the penultimate inning, barring extras, of course, which is something I don't even want to think about right now. Kyle McCausland, Nick Ferry, Brandon Duran, the 3 due up against Cameron Tepper on for his 3rd inning of work. The Miners finally broke through. Tepper was on the precipice his 1st inning of action, nearly gave up a couple runs, finally broke an inning ago with the help of some bad fielding on the part of his Oiler defense, and now it's a tie game. Kyle McCausland is 1 for 3 with a single back in the 6th.
Yeah, McCausland looking to break through, and he had that single in his last at-bat. But right now against Tepper, struggling just a little bit as he swings and misses at that one. This is going to be a big one, too.
Swung in front of that one. The crowd here at Coral Seymour Memorial Ballpark is animated now because of what happened at the end of last inning as that pitch is high. The call on the Blake Bouts throw into second base to pick off the runner, Cole Dawson, was out. And by pretty much everyone's eyes, including admittedly my own, he was pretty clearly safe. But the umpire looked at it and waited for a few seconds and then decided to call him out, to the absolute dismay of everybody in attendance. The first time I think at any ABL stadium I've heard boos come from the home fans. Here's the payoff pitch. That's hit into center field. Coming on a long run, Robson, but he ranges over to make the catch, one away.
Nice work by Robson that time, and good job by him in saying, hey, I want this thing, not allowing Cole Wilson to do anything that would disrupt that. Able to get an easy first out, and that's the kind of communication that Peninsula is going to need here down the stretch.
Nick Ferry has a double in this game, also a pair of ground outs. An extra base hit, just what the Miners want to see, as they have struggled to do that so far this season, despite having scored as many runs as they have. That pitch loops in for a ball. Miners have out-hit the Oilers 7-3. The Oilers, I believe, with 3 errors, the Miners with 2.
Yeah, and to consider that last hit, that was a very solid shot by Kyle McCausland that time. So that might be a sign that, hey, we can get some power bats against Cameron Tepper. We know that these Miners have the ability to go deep, and they could use it right here. It would be a signature shot that could maybe catapult them to a momentum shift that the Oilers just wouldn't be able to come back from.
3-0 right down the middle from Tepper. Ferry trying to draw a one-out walk in front of Brandon Durand, who, and we keep on saying it, but really, really needs to break out of that funk. That's an opposite field pop into foul territory. That's going to fall just outside of the field of play. Down 3-0 in the count. Tepper's worked the count full. Payoff pitch coming to the Seton Hall Pirate. And he just got a piece of it.
Yeah, boy, just barely able to keep that at-bat alive that time. And Nick Ferry, a guy with 3 total hits coming into this game, already has a double in this one. We know that he can go deep. He's got the deepest shot of the day from either side. Could use it again right now.
Tepper left that one outside. That's going to be ball 4. Great plate discipline by Ferry to stay the course and let the pitches come to him. He'll be on board with 1 out.
And you wonder, what is head coach McCann for the Oilers going to do in this situation? As it looks like he's going to come on out. So I was about to say, I wonder if he'll consider going to the bullpen here soon, and it looks like he might have that thought on his mind. He's at least going to have a mound conference.
That was the first walk issued by the Oilers. And it will have a man aboard with 1 out in the top of the 8th inning. Brandon Durand coming up to bat, and I believe this is a pinch hitter. This is Dom Patrizzi coming to bat for Brandon Durand. That's an excellent tactical move from Tyler Brunn, because Patrizzi, one of the best hitters on the team, someone you can rely on to just slap a single into the shallow outfield and keep an inning alive. That's exactly what he's going to try and do here against whatever pitcher Kevin McCann decides to put on the mound. It actually is looking right now as though Tepper is pleading his case to stay in the game. He has not been replaced yet. This looks like more of a strategy meeting than anything.
And we know how good Patrizzi can be, the ABL's leader in runs batted in so far in 2024. And it looks like Tepper is going to stay out there. I think Patrizzi understands that this is a great opportunity. A pitcher who might be on the ropes late in the game, a chance to blow this thing wide open and maybe give your team their first lead in a good while. This is winning time for Matsu.
So Don Patrizzi hitting .222 with a .344 on base percentage. He has driven in 9 runs, which is tops in the Matsu Miners lineup. He's also driven 5 walks. And he smacks one foul off to the right side. This is a critical juncture for the Lehigh Mountain Hawk, New Jersey native, with one of his countrymen on first base.
Oilers defense has to be on high alert in this situation as well, in case one of these things goes and becomes a ground ball. got an opportunity at a potential double play as well as a regular out on Patrizzi.
1-1. Some more groans from the crowd in response to that call. Tepper's offering is hit in the infield, fielded by the shortstop, onto second for one, onto first, in time to turn two. It's exactly what you said, the worst case scenario, and Dom Patrizzi, unfortunately, on the receiving end of it, a double play to end the threat, end the inning. It will stay a tied game as we head to the bottom of the 8th. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube, and hot tip, don't go anywhere, because this game, whether or not it is tied at the end of regulation, the ending will be special. Stay with us. Bottom 8 here in Kenai, Alaska, home of the Peninsula Oilers, who are tied up with Mat-Su 3-3. Jack Hostetler will be on for his 4th inning of work, and it's been a brilliant body of work so far. Through 3, he has struck out 2, walked 1, hit a batter, given up no hits and no runs on the season total. He now has 9 innings pitched and has allowed just 1 hit.
Yeah, he's used that signature curveball time and time again for Mat-Su in this game. There it is once more. It has found the zone more often than not. He's done a sensational job of laying it in time and time again, and now needs to get 3 more outs here to keep the game tied at 3.
Kyle McDaniel has hit a single, also grounded out twice to short. And there's a strike fired in. McDaniel, Robson, and Ty Thomas due up in this critical frame for the Oilers, the bottom of the 8th. Smacked into foul territory on the opposite field by the third baseman, McDaniel.
Yeah, tried to go opposite field that time. Pretty solid shot, but didn't quite have the distance on it.
He's got just 2 hits on the season, though he has one of them back in the 3rd inning off of Ben Detay. That's in the dirt from Hostetler. Not entirely sure what the count is because we're having a scoreboard malfunction. I believe it's 2-2.
Remember that we did see a walk issued by Hostetler in the at-bat against Cole Dawson.
That's high. So a leadoff walk, exactly what you don't want to see. That would be 2 straight walks for Hostetler because that last inning ended with a pickoff.
Exactly.
And indeed, that will be ball 4. Kyle McDaniel draws a walk to open the 8th inning. History of baseball says that is not what you want to do, especially late in a game as a reliever. You hope Hostetler might not be running out of gas here after 4 innings of work. And Colin Robson, not the kind of guy you want to be running out of gas against. He's 0 for 3 today, the only Oiler not to reach base, but don't let that fool you. He has taken the Miners deep twice already this year, and if he did it again, that would all but secure a win. Instead, he shows a bunt, lays one down the left field line, and waiting for it to roll foul, it eventually does. Christian Perez is pumped up with excitement at that decision. He bet it all that ball would go off a divot in the dirt and roll foul, and fortunately it did.
Oh, that's got to be one of the most anxiety-inducing moments for a third baseman when you see a ball just rolling and rolling and rolling, and you're praying it's going to go foul, and eventually, finally, mercifully, it did. That was fortuitous for Christian Perez, but he bet it all, like you mentioned, he guessed right.
One of the greatest moments in baseball history. Lenny Randle was the third baseman of the Seattle Mariners. As this is laid down a bunt, Perez will field it, scoop it, throw it to first base, but not in time. He will reach, so the first two men are on board for the Oilers here in the bottom of the eighth. Things going from bad to worse for Hostetler, as that's an infield hit by Colin Robson, his first of the game, and just the second hit allowed by Jack Hostetler this season, but a critical one in a critical spot to bring up Ty Thomas.
Yeah, that one came off pretty softly off of the bat by Robson that time, and we saw Perez trying to make a play on it, did a good job, but went off balance, and there was just not enough time to get it to Ferry in his situation, so ended up working out perfectly for Peninsula. And like you mentioned, runners on first and second. Jack Hostetler and this defense have to be on high alert, especially with no outs.
Mound Conference just concluded there. The moment I was talking about, Lenny Randall, the third baseman for the Seattle Mariners back, I believe, in the 70s, a ball was hit just like that one, rolling down the third base line, and instead of just waiting for it to roll foul, he got down on his belly and blew it across the line, and it rolled foul. The umpires let it stand as a foul ball, but later that year, MLB introduced a rule to prevent anyone else from doing that again. Half expected Perez to do that here.
That would have been interesting to see. I don't know if there's an official rule against it in the ABL, but it certainly would have been memorable if it had happened.
0-1 count on Ty Thomas, who has hit a single and grounded out twice. Runner goes from second, and that's a bunt laid down, foul by Thomas, so the runners will have to retreat back to where they were. And Thomas is thanking his lucky stars that was a foul ball, because Kyle McDaniel was dead to rights at third. Bouts was up and throwing, and he almost certainly would have gotten there.
Yeah, we've already seen him throw out one runner today, and he was ready to do it again, trying to get it to Christian Perez over there at third. Almost got him.
0-2. Left that one outside, and it goes to the backstop off the glove of Bouts. A wild pitch gets two men into scoring position. The straights as dire as they can be for Hostetler. 2 on, none out. And the heart of the Oilers lineup chomping at the bit to give their squad the lead back.
Jack Hostetler has not given up a run this entire year for Matsu, but he's on the doorstep of doing just that with no outs. And of course, that Matsu bullpen probably stirring just a little bit. We're keeping our eyes over there.
After 3 brilliant innings by the Whitman man on the verge of falling apart, that's fouled off the top bar. Actually went off of a light fixture. Why there are, or I think that's a speaker actually. I was going to say, why would
that is a speaker, yes.
Why there would be lights at a ballpark in Alaska, I'm not sure. But some kind of contraption there. In any event, 1-2. Got jammed again. That time it went over and back into the parking lot.
You ever seen that scene from Cars with Lightning McQueen? There's a reason I don't have lights.
You got to narrow it down a little bit there, partner. There are a lot of scenes in the movie Cars that feature...
Because the track is always lit.
Oh, I don't recall that, but that's a good line. Hit into right field on a rope, ranging over is the right fielder, making the catch there, Kyle McCausland, but tagging and scoring will be the go-ahead run. His name is Kyle McDaniel. The leadoff walk comes back to bite the Miners, and it will be 4-3 in favor of Peninsula.
Yeah, that's the shot that they needed that time, and Ty Thomas more than happy to oblige. A deep shot into right field. One thing Peninsula has over Matsu is their power hitting, and Ty Thomas providing that spark here in the bottom half of the eighth to bring it to a 4-3 lead for Peninsula.
That's 1 out for the Miners. Actually, a nice catch. McCausland had a lot of ground to cover, and I was worried for a second he might whiff on that entirely, but he gets the first out in front of Cole Wilson, who has been hit by a pitch, grounded out, and singled in this game.
And look at that. They tried. Remember from last night we saw how that out was secured in the top half of the 11th? Well, Matsu just tried it again, this time as the pitching team. Didn't quite work, though.
A little bit of gamesmanship. A lazy swing there by Wilson. Count goes to 0-1. Cole appearing in a game against the Miners for the first time this year, looking to acquire some more insurance. In front of a noisy, keen-eye crowd, here's the 0-1 from Hostetler. Drops it in. Nice curveball. And he's a strike away from a critical second out.
At this point, you really need strikeouts against this Oilers lineup. They've been so consistent as of late. You've got to get those strikeouts to try to limit this damage, if at all possible. Hostetler trying to do just that.
Just high on that offering. And it'll be 1-2 on Wilson with Max Rothwarg due up. The runner on second is Robson, and he can run.
Look for that breaking ball.
And he does. Hostetler swing and a miss. The K to retire Wilson. Advancing down to third was Robson on the steal, going for a hit and run. So he's 90 feet away, but a critical second out. The third K for Hostetler, and he's 1 out away from escaping this jam with just 1 run. The Oilers having to show for it. Here's Max Rothwarg, who is 1 for 3, a ground out to third, a ground out to first, and a single.
We said they needed a strikeout. That's exactly what they got from Hostetler that time. And again, he did go to that breaking ball.
Fouls that one off. 0-1. Hostetler gave up a hard hit ball to Thomas, but has settled in since then. 0-1. Chop foul down the third base line. Rothwarg, 1 for 3 on the day today. Came into the day 364, looking for his first run batted into the season. 1 on third, 2 out in the bottom of the 8th. And he'll look at a ball. Hostetler wanted that one. He stepped off the mound briefly in anticipation of the call, but he'll have to do a little bit more.
Goes without saying, but you have to avoid a pass ball or a wild pitch in this situation as well.
Just got a piece of it. Rothwarg had to almost drop to a knee in order to get his bat on that ball to stay alive. The second baseman today. One, two. High and in. Nearly got him.
We've already seen 1 hit by pitch by Hostetler in this game on Cole Wilson. Almost issued a second one right there in the same area, high and inside. Thankfully, just evaded him.
Here's Hostetler, swing and a miss. He got him. No, did he just get a piece of it? Wow, you couldn't tell.
It.
He got a small enough piece of it that I guess Bouts did not get his glove on it, because that would have been a strikeout if that had gone into his glove. I peeked the microphone for nothing. 2-2 once again. Hostetler, and that's line just foul down the first base line. Rothwarg keeping us and the Oilers faithful on the edge of their seats.
Matsu's only going to get 1 more chance offensively in the top of the 9th, barring extra innings, so you've got to keep this at 1 run if at all possible with the infrequency of runs in this game on both sides.
He got him on the slider, throwing down to first to complete the K will be Bouts, and that'll do it. Jack Hostetler does allow a go-ahead run, but he escapes the jam with no further damage. 2 straight strikeouts to end the inning, but we now head to the top of the 9th. It will be Bisaccia, Scow, and Kerr, batters 7, 8, and 9. Historically dangerous for Matsu, due up if they want any chance of staying alive in this game. You won't want to miss it. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball here on YouTube. Top of the 9th. Oilers leading the Miners 4-3. If Matsu wants to stay in this game and eventually get their first win of this road trip, they're going to have to score here. And they've got Bisaccia, Scow, and Kerr due up. against a new man. Cameron Tepper had a rough go of it through 3 innings. He allowed 3 hits, 2 runs, so just 1 strikeout, and he will be relieved in favor of the closer of the day. It's Nikolai Arbach, a new man that the Miners have yet to face.
Yeah, making his first appearance of the season is Arbach out of Madison, South Dakota, and Dakota State University. 6'8", 215 pounds, one of the tallest pitchers in the Alaska Baseball League, and had a season-high 7 innings pitched versus Missouri Valley back on March 23rd. 11 strikeouts as well versus Viterbo on March 30th.
Bisaccia has 2 hits in this game, a pair of singles and a ground out. Has also come around to score back in the 7th. And he takes the ball in the dirt from Arbach. This is not only his first appearance against the Miners, it's his first appearance, period, for the Miners for the Oilers this season. That happened last game with Mose Hayes, and that went pretty well. So Larry McCann betting on a well-rested arm once again. He finds the strike zone against Bisaccia there, 1-1.
Early on, showing a preference for that breaking ball in this game.
That's hit into left field, dropping down for a base hit. A leadoff single. Nick Bisaccia is 3 for 4 today. Where would the offense be without him? He starts the 9th off with a hit.
Signature day for Nick Bisaccia, and what a single into left field. Berkey couldn't do anything about it, just had to watch it drop down. He has done well at getting it into the gap in left field and up over the head of the infielders. He comes through yet again. Matsu's in business, and the offensive spark plug in this game has been Nick Bisaccia.
Well, Riker Scow has not failed to reach base yet, although he only has 1 hit. He's reached on an error and on a fielder's choice, but he's scored 2 of Matsu's 3 runs in the process. Also has a steal today. He takes strike 1 from Arbach.
Think about this. Matsu's out-hitting Peninsula 8-4, and yet the Oilers have the lead. You know why? It's because they haven't been able to convert with runners in scoring position. It's been the biggest issue all series long.
Shows bunt, and that's just foul, and he's lucky for that. I was half expecting Thomas to try and lay out for that, but he thought better of it.
That he did. That
0-2.
was very close, like you mentioned, and like I was saying, it's the runners in scoring position where Matsu has faltered in this series. So if you're Riker Scow, you've got to find a way to advance Bisaccia. You cannot let another opportunity, especially at this moment in the game, go to waste.
First, and that was close, but the call is safe. A twitchy pickoff attempt by Arbach did not show that before and caught Bisaccia off guard.
That's going to raise the heart rates of some of the Miners and the Oilers just a little bit.
Mine is already going as fast as it can. Here's another 0-2. Another bunt offering. Scow misses entirely on that one, and I think he might have gotten a piece of it, because that was not strike 3. The count on the scoreboard is wrong. I think it's 1-2 now.
Should be correct. Big one right here.
Arbach. Outside, and that goes to the backstop. Mitat can't get his glove on it, so into second now on the pass ball is Bisaccia, the tying run at second base.
And no outs as well, so this becomes an even better situation for Matsu. And again, they're playing a pitcher who has not pitched in the ABL yet this season. This is his first appearance in weeks. You wonder just how ready he is. Is some of that rust going to play a factor in this game? Right now, Matsu capitalizing.
2-2. Into right field, right into the glove of the second baseman Rothwarg. An excellent play to prevent multiple base hits. That will be out number 1. Bisaccia stays where he is.
Boy, that was an unfortunate turn of events for Riker Scow. Hit that ball really well off the end of his bat. Thought for a second that he'd be driving that into right field. Instead, it goes right into the glove of Max Rothwarg, who made a great adjustment to chase down that baseball in shallow right. Able to get a big out for the Oilers.
Well, Drake Kerr now is a single, a pop-out, and a sacrifice bunt. If Scow had not made it out, he almost certainly would be laying down a bunt again here, but they can't afford to mess around with giving the Oilers 3 outs in a situation like this. And now Arbach is going to talk with Andres Mitat as Drake Kerr fouls off his first offering. Ryan Richard due up is 0 for 4. should the inning get to him, which it almost certainly will, barring a nonsensical double play.
And remember, Bisaccia and Matsu, known for their aggressive base running. I wouldn't doubt if he tries to steal third base in this situation. Another thing for Arbach to keep an eye on, as well as Mai Tai.
0-1 to Drake Kerr, the Texas A&M Corpus Christi Islander. Arbach, and he hit him. Plunked him right on the shoulder. Drake Kerr's fired up, shouts back at his bench. He's got adrenaline running through his veins, probably didn't even hurt. Might be feeling that in the morning, but right now that is a badge of honor. 2 men on, 1 out. The Miners threatening.
Yeah, he's fired up. He's trying to get his team into it. He is motivated to try to win this game. And like you mentioned, he will take that hit by pitch any day of the week, anything to get on base. And now we go back to the top of the order, and the best hitter on the Miners, Ryan Richard.
Richard 0 for 4 today, looking for his first hit. And Mitat throwing back to first, very nearly went through the glove of the first baseman Thomas. That throw was in the dirt. Kerr getting back to first, and now manager Kevin McCann coming out, along with Mitat and the infield to discuss with Nikolai Arbach. There is activity in the Oilers bullpen, contingency plan in case the Miners do tie this game.
And you have to keep all of that in mind right now, because this is a game that you do not want to let slip away. You were up by 2 runs. You're up by 1 run here. So you've got to find a way to limit this damage, and you have to find a way as well to keep the Matsu Miners base runners in check. Really, you'd rather not have any shots into the infield or outfield at this point, because we know that Matsu excels when it comes to base running in a lot of these big situations. So strikeouts are a high priority right now, as well as easy pop-ups that the Oilers can manage.
You gotta be aware, though, 1 base running blunder might be all you need to single-handedly kill any chances of winning the game. So you gotta be tactical about it. 1-0 coming to Richard, and that's outside as well, 2-0. Arbach feeling the pressure.
The pressure is palpable for Nikolai Arbach right now. He is being thrown into the fire in this situation with a team that has been so good late in games in the past. In the early part of this season, can they rekindle that?
2-0, grounded down the third base line. This Oilers crowd on the edge of their seats. The players, I'm sure, are down in the dugout. They are all lined up, ready to watch their team 2 outs away from a win, but the Miners threatening. 2-1. In for a strike. He got the inside corner. Richard did not agree, but 1 pitch away from a huge K.
And he hasn't shown bunt this entire at-bat, so he's trying to get a shot into the outfield if at all possible. Not going to risk trying to lay down that bunt.
And he got him with the high strike. Ryan Richard, a half-hearted swing. He knew it immediately. And the Miners down to their last out. Richard 0 for 4. I misspoke before. Sack bunt is a plate appearance, not an at-bat, but in any event, he has not reached base. Somebody who has reached base, however, many times during this game is Blake Boutz. 3, in fact. He has reached on an error, has 2 hits, as well as a ground out. If he could go 3 straight singles in this game to extend the inning, possibly drive in the speedy Nick Bisaccia at second, how his new team would love him. And he hits the first one right at the shortstop, throwing on to second for the force, and that'll do it. There was drama at the end, but Peninsula gets the win, 4-3. They take the first 2 against the Matsu Miners to even the season series, one which started with Matsu winning 9-2 and 10-1 in their home field. The Oilers haven't been quite as dominant, but they have responded in kind with a pair of home wins, and the Matsu Miners continue to look for answers on the offensive end. They had opportunities in this game, but they could not deliver when it mattered the most, and I imagine it'll be a very similar scene inside the post-game locker room today.
Yeah, another tough game for Matsu. I think the biggest problem for them, as we've talked about, the runners in scoring positions, just not being able to capitalize when runners were on base. And again, it cost them in this game. They had opportunities to bring in runs, but they just couldn't deliver. And I don't know what the exact stat was on that, but I'm sure it was kind of similar to last night. And Peninsula, give them credit. They only had 4 hits in this game to Matsu's 8, but when they got runners on base, they capitalized, they brought them in, and they found enough. They found a way to win here at home. They're now 2-0 against Matsu here at home to open up the season at Coral Seymour Memorial Ballpark. They're finding a way to beat Matsu, and you got to give them credit for that. Tomorrow is going to be interesting.
Well, that'll be it for us once again. Same time, same place, same ballpark, same YouTube channel on Thursday night for Game 3 of this road trip. If the Miners want any chance of winning this 5-game set, they're going to have to win tomorrow, and they're going to have to do some serious soul-searching if they want to make that happen. Until then, though, with Dylan Simmons, I've been Charlie Fellows. Have a good one.